And this is Ken Kraetzer for Sons of the American Legion Radio. And tonight we have our Army football huddle. And this time it is before Army's bowl game against Missouri, the last game of the year. And Army's just coming out of exams. And it's going to be quite a test for Army. 8-4 going into the game. Missouri is 6-6 on the year, 3-5 in the Southeast Conference. They own a couple of impressive wins, notably against Florida during the season. So let's introduce our team tonight. And calling in from South Jersey, we have Steve Shalou, Army football player, class of '92. Calling in from South Florida, we've got Richard Miller. How are you, Richard, our producer, director?
Very well, Ken. Ready for the bowl game.
Okay, and calling in from Northern New Jersey, we have First Sergeant Rich Robitaille. Rich, how are you tonight?
Well, Ken, thanks.
Good. And in the holiday spirit, we've got from Pelham and our Sons of the American Legion team, heard on WVOX today, we have Jack McGurk.
How you doing, Ken? Good to see you. Ready for the Armed Forces Bowl coming up on Wednesday?
Yeah. Head down there tomorrow. Try to attend the bowl luncheon at 11:30. And Richard Miller did a pretty good job for us finding all of the Missouri press conference notes. And Richard, good job with that.
Thank you, Ken.
They sound, Richard, from the notes that you sent, Missouri sounded like they were really approaching this the correct way. Lots of preparation, preparing in a special way to tackle the Army option offense and getting their game all set up. They were talking about it being a way to validate their season. 6-6, it can go either way. They feel like they're a young team that is improving. So good job on that. What do you think of Missouri, Richard, from listening to those tapes?
I think this Missouri team, it's a make or break game for them. A win and they can get over 500. A loss and they're a game under 500. It's really been like an up and down year. Haven't been able to get any consistency, but they've lost 2-0, and the last back-to-back wins that they've had was against South Carolina and Florida before losing their last game to Arkansas on the 26th of November, 34-17. So up and down year, but this bowl game, anything can happen.
Well, I think, they played some of the titans of college football. Their losses were to Georgia, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Tennessee, which is a little bit surprising, and Arkansas, as you said. Their wins over Florida, South Carolina, and at Vanderbilt. So they're kind of a mid-level SEC team trying to say that they deserve to be in the top half of the conference. Steve Shalou, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Ken.
Now, we were a little concerned about you last week getting over the loss to that team from Maryland. I won't say their name again, but what's your thought on this game? Missouri looks like they're going to go in pretty well rested and prepared.
Yeah, from everything I'm seeing, it doesn't seem like there are any players that are opting out, so they're going to be at full strength. They haven't played in a while, so they will be rested. They haven't played an option team, so that plays an Army's advantage. You can't replicate the speed of what Army does and the precision of what they do. How much does that mean? It'll show on Wednesday, but it's SEC football, and anytime SEC football, I mean, you're playing at such a high level all the time. You're going to be at a high level, so we've got to be on our game. We've got to be dotting our I's, crossing our T's, and doing what we need to do. So it's exciting to play a team of this caliber, and they'll be ready for us. And this is not us playing Houston a few years back. That team was that team was in disarray. This team is focused. They've got some ball players, offensively, defensively. We're going to be in for it's going to be a true test for us.
No doubt. No, this is, from listening to the media conference video that Richard posted for us, they across the board sound pretty prepared and ready to go. Rich Robitaille, how are you?
Bad.
Okay, what is your thought, Army, coming off the loss to Navy that you were at?
Well, I mean, you want to twist that knife. It was Army's worst game of the year, absolute worst. And, a lot of people are still very bitter, putting up 0 points in the second half against a really bad team. And I think, like I texted you, you did send me a message that was completely on point, that Navy wanted it more. They had the passion, they had the fire. To them, it was their season as well. They only came in with 3 wins, and Army thought they were going to lay down for them. And I don't know why anybody would ever think that. And it's disappointing. And you know my thoughts on Coach Monken. He's done some very good things. I acknowledge that, but he also, I feel, doesn't make adjustments in the heat of battle sometimes. And so, and I watched the Missouri coaches. I have a cousin that lives out in Kansas, and obviously he hates Missouri. And I watched the interview with the Missouri coach, and he says, I watched every snap of the Army-Navy game. Like it was kind of a threat. But then I said to myself, well, that's a good thing, because you just watched Army at their worst. So if you're planning for that, listen, hey, you just saw yesterday, the Lions beat the Cardinals. Any team can beat any other team on any given day. Army can play a hell of a lot better than they played against Navy. We've seen it. Even in other losses, we've seen it, And so I think they want they can't get revenge on Navy until next December. I think they want to end their season with a bowl win. I think they're going to bring the firepower to Missouri. I think Missouri doesn't really know what Army can bring when it's fired up and passionate. And I think Monken's doing that. I watched the training videos today. He literally said, this is the only days we've had all year where all we concentrate on is football. Classes are done. They're going to go home before Christmas, so they're happy about that. They just know they're going to go out there and play their hearts out. And, I think they're going to rise to the Army team that we know they are. And Missouri, well, they are an SEC team. They are not in the top, the very top tier. They can be beat, and they can be beat with passion. And so I think Army can pull this out. I know I looked on the ESPN graph. It's like 50-50. It's a toss-up. That's fine. But we beat better teams, and we've lost to worse teams. So Army's got to bring its A game. That's it.
Well, no doubt about it. Missouri is a Southeast Conference pedigree team. And notably, they've got a running back who's probably the best Army's seen all year, Tyler Beatty. He's got 16 touchdowns, 1,600 yards rushing, 133 yards a game, and also has caught passes for over 300 yards. So it's nearly 2,000 yards on the season in productivity. And that's probably the best offensive player Army's seen all year. The quarterback's not bad either. Connor Bazelak throws the ball a lot, 246 out of 377 passes, 2,548 yards, 231 a game. Jack McGurk, how are you?
Doing very well. How you doing?
Good. What's your thought about the game?
This could be a close one. I was looking at the ESPN stats that Richards is talking about, and it's pretty close. Army is favored, but very slightly. They're actually 4.5 point favorites. So this could be a pretty close game. Now, looking at some of Missouri's stats, I was looking at rushing we were just talking about, and Missouri, they average about 178.9 yards per game, but opponents average 228.7, which is pretty good. It could be a good sign for Army and the triple option offense, and Missouri, I don't think they've faced too many teams with a triple option offense, so it'll be interesting to see if they're prepared for that. They might not be. And they seem like offensive, as far as offense goes with Missouri, much more of a passing team. They actually average 233.17 yards per game through the air. So they're more of a passing team than a rushing team. So the Army secondary is going to have to get ready for that.
Well, we talked to the Army defense coordinator yesterday, Nate Woody, and he said the number one thing he's got to do is stop Missouri's running game, and that means stopping Tyler Beatty and his 133 yards a game. He picks up 2/3 of their rushing yardage. And when they're not running Beatty, they're throwing the ball. They've got some good receivers. Tosiki Dove, 35 catches for 552 yards. Kiki Chisholm, 36 receptions for 445. And as we've said, Tyler Beatty's got his own 300 yards from pass catches. So they've got a lot, and it's going to be a challenge. On defense, they have a couple of guys. Martinez Manuel, he's got 60 solo tackles as a defensive back. Blaze Aldridge, a linebacker, has got 48 solo tackles. And Jaslyn Carles has got 55 solo tackles. So they've got some defensive players, and they've withstood some of the big names in the SEC. Steve, we're talking a little bit with Coach Monk and also with Brett Davis yesterday. They said that the Army offensive line kind of came out of the Navy game with a bunch of injuries. And so they may have to be starting some different players than what they did against Navy, which had been kind of their regular starting offensive line. How do you see them? I mean, were they even at full strength the Navy game? I mean, was that one of the reasons that they didn't run well against Navy?
No, they were pretty well at full strength across the board against Navy. They were about as healthy they were going to be, minus the broken leg at defensive back. So but the thing about it is their offensive line it's deep in terms of number of players that can play in different positions. So I wouldn't be overly worried about that in terms of starting let's say a true freshman who hasn't played yet. I don't know. I haven't heard of who's dinged up and who's going to play or not. But I think they'll be fine with what they bring to the table.
Okay. What do you think about this Missouri offense? They seem like, it all starts with this phenomenal running back that they have, a senior, Tyler Beatty, 1,600 yards. Has Army faced a runner of his caliber this year?
Yeah, thinking back, no, no, not somebody of his caliber in an offense of this caliber. I mean, the Western Kentucky offense was, I think you could debate Western Kentucky and Wake Forest to who's 1 and 2 offensively, but I think this is probably the most balanced offense we'll face this year.
Well, they've got they can throw the ball and they can run the ball, and they've put up a lot of points. They 37 at Vanderbilt, 24 at Florida. Struggled. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how they lost 62-24 to Tennessee. That seems to be the odd game for them where they really didn't play very well.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee is a talented team on paper, and they put a couple of games together. So they're not as, I would say that Tennessee is, I would think I'd rank them just slightly better than Missouri. But when they play, when it all comes together, they can play with probably the top echelon of the SEC with the recruits that they have. My biggest concern really going to this game is going to be a ball control, time of possession game for us to frustrate that offense and limit the number of possessions that they have. This is really a lot like Western Kentucky in terms of we've got to get on them early, get a lead, and then hold it out to the end. And if we can do that, I think we'll be successful. I mean, I would love to see, if we could, is just to send caution to the wind and let's fly around and pitch the ball. I mean, a novel concept. I hear Jack talking about us being a triple option offense, and I'll argue that we're not. But let's fly around and pitch the ball and be an option team. And you know, if we put the ball in the turf, we put the ball in the turf, but we're going down on our own terms. And that's what I'd really love to see, because that will open up a lot of things for us, both running and passing.
Well, that's been one of our themes all year, is how many times does Army get the ball to the perimeter during the course of the game, not run by the quarterback. And one of the things we talked a little bit with Brett Davis yesterday was, you know, about not getting the fullbacks going against Navy. I mean, only 30 yards and 24 of that coming on 4 runs by Jacoby Buchanan. That seemed to be the part of the team that really was out of sync against Navy, not getting the yardage on first down and not going back to Jacoby when he was being productive. What was your thought about the fullbacks against Navy and what they need to make work?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I mean, we had, as much as I've, through the help of my therapist, put this one behind me, but you know, we didn't use the fullback, and that has been our bread and butter for a long time. And we're going to have to do that here. But, you know, their nose tackle and their defensive tackle are very talented, and they're SEC sized and athletic abilities. So we're not going to be able to, you know, just manhandle that line of scrimmage at the point of attack without them having to worry about the outside too. So we just really got to face facts, and we got to get that ball. We got to establish the fullback, but we've got to pull it and get it outside when necessary. That defensive tackle crashes onto that fullback, yank that ball out of there, and let's get it outside. So I think if we can do that, we can get them on their heels a little bit. But we haven't been consistent in doing that all year. But maybe now that Christian Anderson's a lieutenant, he'll take the leadership charge. What does he have to lose at this point, right? He's already been commissioned. He can maybe he yanks the ball a little bit more and gets it outside.
So he did commission Friday night. I didn't see a photo on that yet. I got to look for it. They have the December graduation for a number of cadets. So that's great. So he graduated on last week.
That's correct. Yeah. And I've seen a couple of tweets talking about, you know, having a lieutenant, you know, lead the charge out there. So that's exciting for him. It's kind of rare that it happens. I mean, I played when I played with somebody who had just graduated, who had cancer and had to graduate late. Was a little bit more uncommon back then. But it's an honor to see that. And, you know, this truly is his final game. He's off to bigger and better things here after this ball game.
Yeah, Army officer basic course. Now it's great to hear. I have to look for a photo we can post. That's tremendous for him. He's done a lot in his 4.5 years at West Point. Actually, we've seen that with a baseball team a few times, where when they played in the NCAA baseball tournament, like they did this past June. The seniors were all commissioned officers. I think they had almost 7 or 8 on the team going when they went down to play the NCAA games down in Texas. It was neat to see. Richard, are you ready with your tablet to tell us about the bowl games that have been played so far?
Yes, I am. I'm ready with my tablet on that. In the Myrtle Beach Bowl, Tulsa gets a victory over Old Dominion, 30-17. Tulsa is 7-6 on the season. Old Dominion finishes under 500 at 6-7. In the Boca Raton Bowl, Appalachia State loses 59-38 to Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky finishes the season at 9-5, while Appalachia State finishes the season at 10-4. Fresno State finishes a good 10-3 season by defeating UTEP 31-24 in the New Mexico Bowl. Fresno State is 10-3, while UTEP is 6-7. The Independence Bowl, UAB gets the victory over BYU 31-28. UAB is 9-4 on the season, while number 13 BYU is 10-3 on the season. Eastern Michigan and Liberty in the Lending Tree Bowl. Liberty gets the victory 56-20, doing a number on Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan's now finishes the season at 7-6, while Liberty finishes the season at 8-5. In the LA Bowl, I think that's called the Las Vegas Bowl. Utah 24-13 over Oregon State. Oregon State is 7-6 on the season, while Utah State's 11-3 on the season. In the New Orleans Bowl, it's number 23 Louisiana 36-21 over Marshall. Marshall 7-6, while number 23 Louisiana is 13-1. In the Bahamas Bowl, Middle Tennessee 31-24 over Toledo. Middle Tennessee 7-6. Toledo has that same record at 7-6. And then the Cure Bowl, it's Coastal Carolina 47-41 over Northern Illinois. Coastal Carolina finishes the season at 11-2, while Northern Illinois finishes the season at 9-5.
Yeah, I was struck by that score. You had Western Kentucky putting 59 points on the board, and we were so impressed with that quarterback, Bailey Zapp of Western Kentucky. And it's interesting to look at his stats finishing the year. 5,967 yards passing and 62 touchdowns. 475 out of 686 completed, nearly over 69% of his passes, and passing yardage 426 yards per game. Steve, was he still the best quarterback that Army saw this past year?
I mean, statistically, I would have to argue yes. I mean, he finished strong, and I was just pulling up his NFL draft prospects. I mean, he'll translate into the draft. It's kind of a weak NFL draft this year for quarterbacks, but I thought he was better than the Liberty quarterback who got all that hype.
Malik Willis, yeah.
Yeah, and I watched him play Saturday. And I still thought Zappy was a much more polished quarterback. The Wake Forest quarterback also, with his long pauses with the RPOs and getting the ball downfield, was pretty impressive too. But I think
Hartman.
the best we saw this year.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Sam Hartman. The touch that he had, he was always out ahead. He was getting rid of the ball very quickly. He looked the most like an NFL quarterback, but just impressive numbers with Bailey Zapp, although he only had the 1 year because he played, I think, at Houston Baptist before this year.
I think he followed the coach, came over with the coach.
Okay. So, but he's a player. It's going to be interesting to watch. What did you guys think who the best quarterback Army saw this year? Anybody got a favorite? Steve, where is Hartman in the draft? I mean, to me, he was most poised.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to be a late second, maybe early third round pick.
Okay, and is Malik Willis going to hold up to NFL scouting criteria?
I mean, Todd McShay thinks he's the third best quarterback in the draft.
And that's because he can move. Army players all said he was very hard to tackle because he was so fast.
Tough to get down. Very, very shifty and can throw on the run. He was plagued by not having a really good offensive line. That offensive line wasn't good at all. So if he had a good offensive line providing protection, we may have seen a better result from him. But it'll be interesting. He's got all the athletic tools to, and that's kind of in vogue right now in the NFL.
Oh, Ken,
Yeah.
the best performance would have to be Sam Hartman, like in the game they played against Wake Forest. 458 passing yards. That's clearly, I think, the best performance of any of the quarterbacks Army has faced this
Yeah,
year.
I think Army had a little bit of a hiccup on defense that day. I'm not quite sure what happened. It was like the one game the Army defense looked get out of control.
Ugh.
And, we talked to Markel Broughton and Cedric Cunningham after, and they just said they really, couldn't explain what happened. It just it happened so fast. So it's 2 long touchdowns within 5 minutes in the third quarter. But, that happens against fast, very solid quarter throwing teams that can really throw past you. So we have the game on Wednesday night down at Amon Carter Stadium, TCU Stadium, very nice place. Army has played there twice before in recent years, defeated San Diego State on a memorable 2-point conversion. You remember that play? I couldn't go, and I was watching in our American Legion post. I told everybody they're going to run behind Brent Toth, who was the right tackle, and they did. They just ran right over him and got the 2-point score and gave them a 1-point lead, and then they made an interception or a fumble recovery and got another quick touchdown after that. What was your thought about that game, Steve, down in Fort Worth?
Yeah, I was at that game, and they run a toss sweep to the right for that play. I was just impressed with San Diego State's running backs and how fast they were, and I knew that it was going to be kind of a last possession type game. Whoever had the ball last, that could score last, would win the ball game, and that's how it ended up. But the biggest thing from that game is I went to the bathroom right before the half when we kicked off, and they ran that kickoff back for a touchdown. I think they kicked it to Penny, and off he went. So it was an incredible backfield that they had, and they were really talented. Maybe reminds us a little bit of Missouri this year.
Yeah, and then we talked a little bit about it last 3 years ago when they went down and played Houston. Houston was missing a number of their defensive players who were sat out to prepare for the NFL draft. And it was what was it, 70-10 or 70-14 game. That was quite a performance. And Army still had their foot on the accelerator in the second half. And then the Houston coach got fired after that. Who was a former University of Texas quarterback we met in the media conference.
I still remember the little funny vignette out of that is we were at halftime. We were up in our suite, and the comm stopped by, a classmate of a friend of mine, and he was up there having a little bit of bourbon, and the opening kickoff went down to almost like the 30-yard line, right out front of us where we were sitting. And the next play was a big chunk, and he had to the comm had to sprint downstairs to get down for some push-ups because he knew we were about to score again. And if you look, we scored, I think, probably 40 seconds into the second half. And he had to sprint down there to be on the sidelines, couldn't finish his bourbon. So that was
Major Applewhite.
Yeah, that was the Houston coach got fired after the game. I felt bad for him.
Yeah, he got demoted to Lieutenant Colonel Apple. He was Lieutenant Applewhite after that game, for sure.
Yeah. What do you think about that? I mean, Rich, what do you think about some of these college players on bowl teams not playing in the New Year's Bowl games or the playoff games that decide to leave their team, not play their team's bowl game, and just prepare for the NFL draft?
Well, I mean, can you blame them? I mean, what's the average stay in the NFL? 3 or 4 years? That's why they call it not for long. A lot of these guys have one shot at it, even some pro teams now are shutting down their stars who are, when they're out of the playoffs. One injury, and you've seen it. Look at what happened to West Point alumni on the Jets, who just his career could have been over in one play. The NFL, the players, they don't have guaranteed money like the Major League Baseball players. They don't. They can sign a 5-year deal for $100 million, and if they shatter their leg or their back, they don't make anything, and their career's over. They know they have a very, very short career. People like Tom Brady are very, very rare. Quarterbacks don't get hit as much as linemen or other things like that. So a lot of these guys who get hit every play, they understand they're only going to be playing 3 or 4 years at best. So, you're going to throw away a $5 million contract for a game that means nothing? No, their family and friends and everyone is telling them, don't even risk it. Don't even, because in 5 years, even at best case scenario, they're going to be released by some team and they're going to be out of the league. So, they got to make their money when they can make it. That's just the way it is. It's a business. The teams do it, every owner will tell you it's a business. And that's what I like what they're doing in college football now with the transfer protocol, and players are now walking away from teams they don't want to be part of. And there's still a lot to be fixed there, but players got to look out for themselves. It's their career. Especially if you're at that level where someone's going to offer you millions of dollars to play. You can't throw that away. There isn't a person on this panel right here that would throw away a potential multi-million-dollar contract. So, now, if it was for the national championship, something like that, they're all going to play because they want that on their resume. But one of these lower bowls that doesn't mean anything to their career, I don't blame them. I just don't. They got one shot at this. They got one shot. And they know one bad play on an NFL field could blow their knee out and they're done forever. So, you don't blame them. You can't blame them.
Well, Steve Shalou, you were a player. What's your thought on that? Some people say, gosh, if they had it to do over again, they'd love to have had the chance of playing one more college game, a bowl game, and help their team win. But as Rich said, for the top echelon NFL players, or even anybody who makes the NFL for a period of time, there are millions of dollars that can be earned in even a short NFL career. What's your thought on that?
I've thought about it a lot, actually. And the way I'd look at it is, you can go back and forth. I mean, you can get insured. You can get insured for that if you got a certain draft grade and you get hurt, and you can be insured for that. You got to balance that with not letting your team down. There's probably a round pick that you'll be as kind of the cutoff, that if you're going to be above it, don't go and play, or below it, go and play. I think I'm a firm believer that it's a personal choice. I'm not going to begrudge anybody to do it, but I wouldn't want to miss my last ball game with my brothers. So, it's just really situation dependent.
And you see it with the Alabama quarterback, who's now at Miami. He was slated to be the #1 pick, and he suffered a horrible injury at the end of his senior year, to a point where he fell so far down the draft that he just got picked up as let's see if they can make him better. How many multi-millions of dollars he lost for playing that last Alabama game? And that's a lesson. And people see that because it happens. I understand what Steve's saying. I get it. But when you deal, and I'm not dealing with the 95% of guys who will never be drafted. You're talking about the upper echelon, the guys that know millions are waiting. When you see
it is, yeah.
Yeah, for a potential #1 pick just gets destroyed in his final college game. He lost millions.
What did they say about, I think it was the Jets quarterback, they traced his career and he had made about $30 million, and he had hadn't won a game in a long time, but had made $30 million as primarily a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Rich,
even
you brought up.
Even the pros do it. The New York Giants just shut down their quarterback for the year, not for injury. They said the final 4 games mean nothing. We're not going to risk an injury.
Daniel Jones.
Yeah, they just shut him down. They said he's done for the year. The
Yeah, I don't
future's
think-
too important.
I don't
We
think
can't risk an injury.
that is a bad example. I think they shut him down for frustration.
But it's
Rather
an
than-
investment. Listen, players are products to these owners. They're products. All right. It sounds heartless, but they are. As long as they perform, they'll be paid and they're on the field. And when you invest millions into somebody, the last 4 games for the New York Giants mean absolutely nothing. Why are you going to risk your number one pick and future franchise quarterback?
I'll
Put it back up.
I'll agree with you if they pick up his option, if his 5th-year option, but I don't think they shut it. I think they want to shut him down to see what else they have.
I think it's probably a combo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably a combo. They don't want him blowing a knee or a hip.
Yeah.
You know.
Rich, you brought up an important point. Elijah Riley, a former Army defensive back safety, great player, playing for the Jets, getting a starting opportunity, got hurt playing yesterday. They said he was better. He was well enough to fly back with the team from their game. But I was wondering if anybody had heard any additional information about how Elijah Riley is doing. And
I think I read the same article you did on ESPN that he just flew back with the team, which is a good sign. That means he doesn't have a tragic neck injury.
Oh, I was at the game.
You were at the game?
Yes, I was.
Down in Miami, that's right. So you went. What happened?
Oh, it was checked out with the knee. Let's see. 4 plays. Let's see. The defensive back suffered an injury on the 3rd quarter of the team's loss to the Dolphins. On a screen pass, Dolphins running back Duke Johnson collided with teammate Kyle Phillips and stayed down for several minutes. He laid motionless as doctors worked on him. He eventually, Riley moved his hands and feet and gave a thumbs up before being carted off on the field.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear he's okay. Steve, did you hear any updates on Elijah Riley?
Nothing. I didn't hear anything back at all.
Yeah, well, our best wishes to him. He was such a great player at Army. I always remember the game-saving tackle he made against Miami of Ohio when they were about to, they had a go-ahead chance on a 2-point conversion. He ran from one side of the field to the other, all the way across the field to the left, and made a tackle on about the 3-yard line and gave Army the win that day. And he's we hope that this is something he can come back from and he's okay. And so we'll have to remember Elijah in our prayers, and hopefully he is better very soon.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I think about a lot when stuff like that happens, and we watched the Thursday night game that one of the tight ends came across and
On San Diego.
Yes, yeah, and stretched it out, and then he hit his head, and I mean they carted him off, and his arms were still in that kind of locked position. What does that do for a person's psyche after they're cleared? You know, they come back, they're cleared to play. Are they a step slower just because of that experience? Is there a mental block there? I mean, I have not been around anybody who had that happen to them, so I haven't had a chance to ask them, but I would think that it's got to have an effect on your mental well-being in terms of how hard and how fast you play.
Yeah, and as Rich was pointing out early, the NFL can be it's a business. It can be kind of heartless at times, and players have very short careers. And Richards was at the game. Did you see the play happen?
No, I was. Well, I did. I was out getting something. I saw it on the TV screen. Oh, it looked scary.
Well, Richard, as we're gonna go a little shorter tonight. I got an early flight in the morning to travel down to Dallas and be at the Armed Forces Bowl luncheon tomorrow. Tell us what are some of the other bowl games coming up this week?
Some of the some of the other bowl games coming up this week. Let's see scores. Some of the other bowl games coming up this week will be, according to, come on, get it up here. Kent State will be taking on Wyoming in the Idaho Potato Chip Bowl. That's going to be at 3:30. Tuesday, December 21st, UTSA will be taking on San Diego State, number 24. That's the Frisco Bowl. Missouri will be taking on Army in the Armed Forces Bowl, 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Thursday, North Texas will be taking on Miami of Ohio in the Frisco Football Classic. The Gratz-Parillo Bowl, the December 23rd, UCF will be taking on Florida. That's a 7 o'clock game. Let's see. Christmas Eve, Memphis will be taking on Hawaii in the Hawaii Bowl, 8 o'clock on Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, Georgia State and Ball State and the Canelo Bowl. That's a 2:30 game. December 27th, 11 a.m. Western Michigan will be taking on Nevada in the Quick Lane Bowl. And also December 27th, Boston College will be taking on East Carolina in the Military Bowl. A 2:30 p.m. kickoff.
Okay, well, let's go around and get your predictions on the Armed Forces Bowl. Missouri Tigers of the SEC taking on Army. Missouri's 3-5, 6-6 on the season. And so, Richard, why don't you lead off? Who's going to win between Missouri and Army?
Oh boy, Missouri and Army. Well, last game of the season, Army had a difficult game against Navy. This Missouri team, 6-6, they're still good. As much as I think Missouri may come out on top in this one. I'm gonna go Missouri. Gonna go 31-21. Missouri's gonna win.
Okay, so Rich is going out. You're going to take Missouri. Jack McGurk, what do you think? Missouri and Army on Wednesday night in Fort Worth, Texas.
I think it's going to be a very close game. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that Army they were 4.5-point favorites in the game. I just checked again. Now they're 5-point favorites. Not sure what happened in that time span that bumped them up a half point there, but Army is slightly favored, and I think it's going to be pretty close. But I like Army in this one. I'm going to say 24-21 Army.
Okay, close game, not a moderately scoring game. What was the
I changed my mind, Ken. 31-21 Army.
We knew that was happening.
So, it's interesting, the over, because Richard Miller's got it at 52 and Jack's got it at 45. Rich Robitaille, what do you think's going to happen? Is Army going to rebound off the Navy?
Well, I always put it down to the type of the offense. Teams that don't play triple offense teams always struggle. We see that. Even games we've lost, we still put up a ton of points. There are no triple option teams in the SEC. Missouri's, that's one reason our Navy and Air Force are always difficult, because we all run the same freaking scheme. So everyone knows how to defend it. I remember when you were having me doing visitor interviews long ago, visiting coaches, and they would always struggle. It's hard to teach a team how to defend the triple option in a week. Well, they've had 2 weeks or whatever, but it's still very, very difficult. I think Missouri's going to struggle with that offense. I think Army's going to come out passionate. Missouri doesn't play a team like this. Army's had games where they haven't thrown the ball all day. I don't know if Missouri's ready for a ground and pound offense like Navy and Air Force would be, because we all just expect it from each other. So I think they're going to struggle deeply, and Army will pull it out in the end, 27-24.
27-24, okay. And for Rich Robitaille. And who are you picking in that game? In the game?
Army.
You're picking Army, okay.
Because Missouri just does not have experience defending that type of offense.
Okay.
They never see it.
And one of the interesting things is that one of the Missouri coaches is an Army veteran, and he was talking a little bit about it. We've got that on our Facebook page, and it was an interview with and one more with the running backs coach. Curtis Looper is a U.S. Army veteran. He served domestically, also served in South Korea, and he said he taught what he learned about discipline in the Army. He applies to his players, and but he said he was very excited when he learned they were going to be playing West Point in the game. Okay, Steve Shalou, what is your thought? Is Army going to rebound? Is the offensive line ready to go? Are the fullbacks ready to go? And is the Army defense ready for this running back, Tyler Beatty? What do you think, Steve?
I think that they are as ready as they're going to be. I think they'll come out feeling like this is their last time to show, and they're going to play hard for the seniors, and they're going to avenge their loss a few days ago, and they're going to come out strong, and they're going to win 33-31 in a nail biter, but it's going to be Army eventually on top, not unlike what happened with the San Diego State game a few years back.
Yeah. And I think I tend to agree with you on the score. I think it's going to be really tough to stop this Missouri offense. It's going to be a little bit like when Army played Wisconsin. I think Missouri's got a better quarterback than Wisconsin had. Connor Bazelak can throw the ball, likes to throw the ball, 2,548 yards this year. 231 passing yards per game, and then a running back, Tyler Beatty. Woody said that's the number one objective is stop the Missouri running game, and that means stopping Tyler Beatty. So I think that's going to be a challenge. I don't think they're going to stop him all day. I'd say, on the Army side, they've got to get the running game back together. Tremendous disappointment in the Navy game that they just ran for 124 yards. That's almost 200 yards per game down from their average. And that's going to be a challenge for Brent Davis, is getting the Army running game back to where it was earlier in the year, getting the fullbacks to be productive, and then also getting the ball out to the perimeter, throwing the triple option. At its best, at its fastest, getting the ball out to Tyrell Robinson, and then occasionally trying the pass. Not as many times as they did against Navy. They passed 16 times, 7 completions. It seemed like they were stretching the offense with the passing game, but Navy had more of the answers. So we'll see. I think. I'm going to go. It's hard for me not to pick Army, but I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a higher scoring game. I'm going to go Army 31-27 for Missouri. I think I'm the highest score. Now, Steve had 33-31. So I think it's going to be a higher scoring game, and it's going to be fun to watch and quite a challenge for Army. Any other thoughts about the game?
I got a couple little parting shots. One, Nolan Cockrell got named to the East-West Shrine Bowl or Shrine Game, so that's quite an honor for him.
Great.
Yeah.
Where is that game played now?
Mobile? Is that in Mobile,
Alabama?
I think it is.
Glenn Toth played in that game after his senior year. What was that? After 2018.
Yeah, that'll be February 3rd to be played on the NFL Network. And that's really a cool time to gauge Army's developmental level against other talent. So you get to see how you match up in a practice setting in a pro-style defense out front of NFL coaches. And he will shine with his work ethic and his drive and his motor. He'll shine, and he'll be everybody will want him on their practice squad. They probably won't draft him, but they'll want him on his practice squad.
How does he approach that as far as waiting to see if he gets assigned to a practice squad? Is that just after the NFL draft that he would get signed if it's going to happen?
Yeah, he'll go into the draft if he doesn't get drafted. Then usually after that final round, they just start calling agents and start seeing, they want to pull you and sign you to a free agent contract.
How about Eric Smith? Do you see that he would have an opportunity to try out for the NFL?
I think he could too. I mean, again, if he gets and Army will have a pro day, they will, and which is happening more and more now. The thing about Eric Smith is he's an impressive young gentleman. He's impressive. Nate is quoted saying this is the smartest football player he's ever coached. So that says a lot about, in terms of Army linebackers, I think he's a little stiffer than we've seen with Cole and Nautical, but I think he has an opportunity to at least show his wares at the next level.
Okay. Well, I will be down there, and Steve's going to be down there. We're going to look for Colonel Houston. There was not checking on how Air Force is going to lose their bowl game, but we will be doing a live video from the Association of Graduates event that's on the lawn before the game. So we hope to be on about 5 o'clock for that, and then we will do an hour live before the game. We're very appreciative of the bowl committee allowing us to go live from 7 to 8 o'clock Eastern time, 6 to 7 there, and we'll watch the team warm up, do some talks, and then watch the pregame show at the bowl games. It's always great to watch the pregames and the halftimes. They do tremendous performances. I'm sure the Missouri band will be out, and the West Point band will be represented there, I imagine. So it'll be good to watch. And so we will cover that live on this page and look forward to that. So any other final thoughts? Okay, well,
I'm so looking forward to this game. The bowl season, it's the best time of the year.
Okay. We appreciate Richard found all of the Missouri video from their press conferences, and we posted that. Very interesting to watch. And so again, for Sons of the American Legion Radio, we are proud to represent the 2 million veterans of the American Legion, and also our 330,000 members around the country. And so I want to wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We will be back next Monday and discuss the bowl game, the outcome, and also how Army will look going into the 2022 season. So I thank Richard Miller calling in from Florida. Rich Robitaille, First Sergeant, calling in from Northern New Jersey. From Southern New Jersey, we have Steve Shalou. And from Pelham, we have Jack McGurk in the holiday spirit.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Jack, and everybody watching. And, we always remember we talked to one of, on our show today, Admiral Harold Robinson, who was a chaplain serving the Navy and Marine Corps for 35 years and many times overseas on a Christmas or during the Hanukkah period, and working with troops, Marines, sailors, airmen during the holiday season, and a friend to all. And we remember the chaplains out serving and all serving during this period, representing the United States overseas. So thank our team. And so again, for Sons of the American Legion Radio, Army Football Huddle, we'll see you down in Fort Worth on Wednesday night. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for watching.